Hey guys, how's it going? Today I want to talk about section 4.2, relations and functions. I don't think you'll find this section overly difficult. Hopefully some of it's review for you, but let me know if you have questions as we go. So 4.2, first thing we're going to talk about is what is a relation? Well, a relation is really any set of ordered pairs, right? An ordered pair is basically like 1, 3, our points. These are, that's a set of ordered pairs. So it's basically a set of those. It's a bunch of points. We can represent those in three different ways. We can show them in a table form, like if you're, say, in a track meet and you place first, you might get 5 points for placing first. If you get second place, you get 3 points, and so on. But we could show it in a table format. We can graph those points, right? 1, 5, 2, 3, 3, 2, and so on and so on. Or we can map them. Okay? And map them basically, we take each point, 1 and draw an arrow to 5, 2 goes with 3, 3 goes with 2. And you can have lines that, cross, and we can add extra lines, and that means another set of points, right? So the next thing we're going to talk about is what domain and range are, okay? Domain is basically just the set of all the inputs. It's the x values. So like for this one up here, this example up here, our domain, and what we would write is we use this little squiggly parenthesis, and we basically list all the x values. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the only x values listed. The range is the set of all the outputs. It's the y values. Okay, so we would say the range is, and again, we would use that fun little parenthesis, and we just list all the y values. So it'd be 5, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, it's basically just what are all the x values and what are all the y values for that relation. Okay, so what we need to be able to do is look at relations in any of these different forms, right? We could be given one in a table, we could be given one in a graph or a map, or vice versa. We can, if they give us at a table, we should also be able to draw the graph of the map, or vice versa. Okay? And then we also have to be able to list the domain and range. When it's just a set of points like this, the domain and range are actually pretty easy. It gets a little bit more complicated when it's given as a graph like this. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to say, what x values is this graph looking from? If we just look on the x-axis, where are there points? Well, there's no points over here, right? It starts at 2 and it ends at 7. We're only looking at the x values, okay? So basically it's all x where it's between, and we can use this notation, where it's between 2 and 7, okay? But then the range, right? Now the range, we're looking at the y values. Where is this graph located on the y-axis? Well, it looks like it starts at 3 and it keeps going all the way to 5, right? So it's basically only from here to here. There's no points down here and there's no points up here. It's only right through here. So basically what we would write is it's all the y's between 3 and 5. Okay? So the domain is where is the graph located on the x. The range is where is it located on the y. If we try another one, right? The domain, well, this graph, where is it located on the x-axis? Well, it looks like there's a point starting here at 1, and it goes all the way out here to 5. So basically, it's all the points from 1 to 5. And if this was an open circle, it's the same as last chapter. We would not underline that kind of thing. And then the range, again, we look at the y values, right? There's no points down here. It looks like the first point starts at, call that 3, right? Maybe 2.5, really. But we'll call it, let's call it 2. That looks like it's at 2. We'll put it right there, okay? The graph was a little off there. So it looks like it starts at 2. Okay, and it goes all the way up to, looks like 7. So it's all the y's between 2 and 7. So again, domain, we look at where's the graph located on the x-axis, and y's, we go this way. Okay, and the range, we go on the y's. Now, the next thing we got to talk about is what is a function? Okay, a function is a very, very specific type of relation. It's a type of relation where each input has exactly one output. Okay? Now, that's important. So here's the example I like to use for this. I want you to think of like a pop machine. Okay? All right, we have inputs, we have outputs. The inputs are, we put our money in and we press a button, right? The output is we get a soda. So let's say we put our money in and we press the first button and we get out a Coke. Okay, our pop machine looks good. And then we put our money in, we press the second button, and let's say we get a Diet Coke, right? So far so good. Our graph, our machine seems good. And we put our money in, we press the third button, and we get a, I don't know, how about we'll call it a Sprite, right? We'll get a Sprite. Okay, so our machine seems to be working. Well, let's say we put our money in and we press the fourth button and we get a Coke again. Is this machine broken? Well, the answer is no. It just means we have a Coke button up here. We have another Coke button down here. You've seen pop machines with multiple buttons of the same thing. I've seen a whole pop machine of nothing but Pepsi. If you go to Cedar Point, you'll see a pop machine of nothing but Pepsi in here. It doesn't mean the machine is broken. It just means it doesn't have a very wide selection, right? So far, we have a good machine. But now let's say we put our money in and we press the third button again. But this time, we get a Dr. Pepper. Well, now I have a broken machine because now my input, for each input, I have a different output here, right? And now I can't predict what the next 3 is going to be. If I look at that graphically, where if I press the first button, I got a Coke, right? And then I press the second button, and I got a Diet Coke. We'll put DC there. And then I press the third button, and I got a Sprite, right? And then I pressed the fourth button, and I got a Coke again, right? I was actually okay here. But then I pressed the third button again, and I got a Dr. Pepper. So now what happens is I fail what's called the vertical line test, okay? The vertical line test basically means is there any place I can draw a vertical line and hit more than one point? If I can, this is not a function, right? So this is not going to be a function because this input has multiple outputs. Okay? The vertical line test is really, really easy. It's basically, is there any place I can draw a vertical line and hit more than one point? If that's true, it's not going to be a function. Before I had this point here, I was okay. You know, it was okay to have the same output here with different inputs. It was okay to get a Coke here and a Coke here, but it was not okay to have press the third button and we put it over there. Now, if we look at that in a map where we had our inputs of 1, 2, 3, and 4, that was our domain. Our range was Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite. We already have Coke, we don't need it again, and Dr. Pepper, right? And now we start mapping this. First, I pressed the first button, I got a Coke. So I draw that line. Then I pressed the second button and I got a Diet Coke. Okay. Then I pressed the third button and I got a Sprite. Then I pressed the fourth button and I got a Coke. That's okay. It's okay to have multiple arrows going to the same output. That's fine. But what we can't have now is if I press the third button and get a Dr. Pepper, I can't have two arrows leaving the same input, going to different values over here. So it's okay to have two arrows going to the same output, but you can't have two arrows leaving, right? And that would make it not a function. So this is not a function. Okay? And the reason it's not a function is because we have the same input giving me different outputs. Okay? So, a few examples here. Things we have to be able to do. Well, we have to be able to tell the domain, the range, and is it a function or not. Okay? So this one, the domain, well, this graph, where is it located from? Where does it start? It starts at -2 on the x-axis and ends at +2. So it's all the x's between -2 and +2. The ranges, or the range, if you look at the y-axis, where does this graph start? It starts at -4, ends at +4. So it's all the y's between -4 and +4. Okay? And then, would this be a function or not? The easiest way to tell is does it pass the vertical line test? Is there any place you can draw a vertical line and hit it more than once? Yes. So this is not a function. It's still a relation, but it's just not a function. Okay? Again, another example. My domain, this one's just a set of points. Pretty easy to write them. My x's are just 7, 9, 12, and 15. So we just list those set of points. My range would be just -7, -1, and 0. And then the question is this a function? Well, we have multiple arrows going to -1 and we have multiple arrows going to 0. That's okay. But you're not allowed to have two arrows leaving the same input going to different values. So this one would not be a function. Okay? Let's look at just a set of points. Okay? My domain would be 4, 0, and 2. I'm not going to write the 4 a second time. My range is going to be 5, 1, 3, and 2. And really, you could write those. They don't have to be in that order. It'd probably be better if I put them in numerical order and wrote 0, 2, and 4, and then 1, 2, 3, and 5 down here. You don't have to put them like this. It's not crucial, but it looks better if they're in the right order. And then the question is this a function? Well, here we have the same input, 2 4s, giving us different outputs. So again, this is not a function. And the reason is because of those 2 points right there, the 4, 5 and the 4, 2. How about this one over here? This one, my domain, is 3, 4, 5, and 6. My range is just 1. Now, think of the pop machine. I press the third button, I got a Coke. I press the fourth button, I got a Coke. I press the fifth button, I got a Coke. I press the sixth button, I got a Coke. Is it a broken machine? No. This is a function. And the reason it is a function is we don't have the same input giving me different outputs. We just have the same output all the time. So yes, this is a function. Now this one over here, the domain is just 1. The range would be 2, 3, 5, and 6. But this one, I press the first button, I got a Diet Coke. I press the first button again, I get something different. So this is not a function. Okay? Well, that's it. So try a few of these. Let me know how it goes, and I'll talk to you guys later.